Now, before we invite our speaker, I would just like to say a few words of introduction. And this is something very interesting. This is how I got introduced to Baradwaj Rangan. I'm going to read out a quote from Karan Johar's autobiography, An Unsuitable Boy, which says, "The only critic I read and take seriously is Baradwaj Rangan. He's a fantastic person, a fantastic critic. He has not liked a single film of mine except Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna." Mr. Baradwaj Rangan is currently the editor of Film Companion South and was earlier with the Hindu and the New Indian Express. He won the National Award for Best Film Critic in 2005. His writings on cinema, music, art, books, travels, and humor have been published in various newspapers and magazines like The Hindu, the New Indian Express, Caravan, Arts Illustrated, Open, Tahelka, Biblio, Outlook, and many more. His long-term story on Vikram was featured in the Caravan Book of Profiles as one of their 12 definitive profiles. And he writes a column on world cinema at First Post. He has co-written the Tamil rom-com Karal to Kalyanam. He has written the Tamil short film Kalki, has written dialogues and narratives for dance dramas Krishna and Meghdootam. His short story, The Call, was published in the Indian Quarterly, and he teaches a course right now on cinema at the Asian College of Journalism, Chennai. He has served as a member of the jury at the National Film Awards and as a member of the selection committee for international films at the Geo Mumbai Film Festival. He has contributed to various anthologies, including an essay on Subramaniapuram. I'm so sorry. The Tamil film in English translation, and an analysis of Rajkumar Hirani in Behind the Scene, the contemporary Bollywood director, and this cinema. His first book, Conversations with Mani Ratnam, was published by Penguin in 2012. His second book, Dispatches from the Wall Corner, was published by Westland in 2004. So a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Rangan, Mr. Baradwaj Rangan. If you can, thank you,
Hi,
sir.
hi. Thank you so much, Shatrupa. And if there's something that I could do with all these introductions, I would just say, this is Baradwaj Rangan, and he's the editor of Film Companion South, and end the whole damn thing. And so, just kind of.
No, but I would just like to say that I really wanted to read out that passage from Karan Johar's book, because that's how I got introduced to your name. And
Okay.
I then Googled you, I Googled the kind of work that you do, and I started reading up, and I became a fan.
Oh
I'm a
my
huge
God!
fan of
Now
yours.
I'm tainted with the Bollywood brush. I'm part of the mafia now. Oh my God! I'm going to lose all my followers.
No, no.
I have to beware of Twitter now.
But
So,
seriously, sir, I think your writing style is something that I'm jealous of. I should say I'm very jealous of, and I hope that I get that style and I practice. So, which brings me to my first question: what is your earliest memory of watching a film? Like, do you recall your earliest attempt of writing about a film? That's something you watched and you thought that, okay, I want to write about it.
yeah. So when this happened in bits, right, where I studied, and
Hmm.
we used to be a bunch of friends at school, and when I started missing movies, is when I kind of started writing about them.
Hmm.
I because I moved from Chennai to Rajasthan, and I really missed watching movies. We used to have this. Daru will be able to tell you. We used to have this thing called RAF. Uh, it sounds like Royal Air Force, but I forget what it really stands for. It's like, I don't know, recreation something, activities forum or something like that. So they used to show us like one Hindi movie and one English movie a month, uh, but it was not enough, because I'm a junkie, right? You need a daily fix, you need an hourly fix. So I used to write these things. I actually have some of those written material, and I used to write about things like that to unsuspecting friends back home who'd be like, why the hell is he writing this much about films and stuff like that? So those are my earliest memories of wanting to write about movies. But strangely, for an engineering college, Bits had a the Bits library had a very good section on film books, and I stumbled on my first foreign film critics there, and I was suddenly like, holy fuck, this is way beyond what we get in India as film criticism, and this is really what I'd like to see, people talk about, uh, uh, because the thing is, the, the the contextualization of film in terms of its what its genre is, its history, things like that, as opposed to just saying this is the story, these are the performances, something like that. While I do understand there's a value for that kind of instant judgment as well, I just found that there was not enough of this. It was either the very light kind of review, or you had the Chidananda Dasgupta kind of serious, like academic kind of film discussion. Like if you've read Satyajit Ray's Our Movies, Their Movies, uh, he'll write about stuff, but it's very how do I put it? Like people who like reading will like it, but the average person will not like it, because so I wanted to kind of be the bridge between like these critics I read. I wanted to be the bridge between uh, uh, you know academic I don't want to use the word scholarship. That sounds a little pretentious, but knowledge, maybe academic knowledge and historical knowledge and things like that. But also convey a sense of my own journey through the film, that my enjoyment of the film, that kind of stuff. So I think that's really where it's helped in terms of that library and my discovery of those things. Yeah. When you said jealous of my writing, I always say this. It's like. Without being immodest, I know I'm a good writer. I probably know I'm a very good writer, but I'm also very bad at a lot of other things, which you're probably damn good at, and I'd be jealous of you. So the one skill that sets us apart is not necessarily the skill that you should evaluate people by, simply because they're probably zero in so many other things. It's like maybe this one skill is there to compensate for the zero in all the other departments. So it's like, chalo, everywhere else you're zero, I'll give you this one thing and just enjoy. That's kind of a thing. So
No, so why do I say this is because I have the aspiration of doing something in similar, but in theater. I would like to do, I would like to do theater critics and theater review, write theater critics. And I've always found your writing very engaging as a reader. Someone who loves to watch films, I always read your writings on that film, and eventually I actually sometimes I do decide whether to go for that movie or not go for that movie. So in that sense, I find your writing very engaging, very illuminating, very enlightening as a cinema love, as a cinema.
thank you.
So that's
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
so my next question is how was your journey like, because from Bits Pilani to the editor of the film Companion South, and how did this journey happen?
It wasn't a planned journey at all, and I would tell many people that I always tell people that this lack of planning is probably what added to. I think to be a good critic, you have to have a good exposure and experience of life,
Mhm.
because a lot of people today judge art in a very narrow sense. They want people to conform to their notions of what good is, what bad is. I think the more you see of life, the more you realize that good people can have bad shades, bad people can have good shades. I think the more you see and interact with the world, the more you travel, the more you generally, the more relationships you have, the more relationships you fail at. I think all those really teach you so much about. I think that is really primary for a critic to kind of you know be at a position where they become good. Of course, you need to know the industry you're writing about. You need to be familiar with all that kind of stuff. But I'm saying that the journey itself, and so the journey that I took from bits was like, I was like, okay, so engineering is not working for me. I don't have the brains to become an engineer. What do I do next? So like, I want to write. So what do I do? So I went into advertising, and then I found out that advertising was not really creative writing, because you're kind of writing to fulfill the client who's paying you. So then that was like, okay, now that's not happening. So then I went into software for a bit. Then I mean, it's almost like you stumble on things because either you want to make money, or it kind of opens up. And one thing about me is I've never said no to anything, and that's the philosophy that I hand down to almost everybody who asks me for life advice. I don't know why they ask me for life advice, but some people do. And when they ask me for life advice, I always tell them, never say no to anything. It's like you don't know what that thing could teach you. It's always important to say yes to as many things as are possible. So I'm not saying if you have a fear of heights, you should still go bungee jumping. I'm not talking about that kind of extreme, but within a certain. But if you're always within your comfort zone, and if you always think that I cannot do this, then you don't know what you can do. And one of the most examples that I have was, I never considered myself a video person. I never considered myself somebody who'd be comfortable in front of a camera, who'd be able to, speak extemporaneously on various things. But then I started teaching cinema. I learned that I could think on my feet. That I could, when students ask me questions, I could answer like immediately, like without having to do too much. And that gave me a lot of confidence. And how did that teaching happen? Again, I didn't plan it. It was like somebody asked me and said, "Do you want to teach a class?" And then I say yes. So I think the short answer to the question that you said would be, how has the journey been? I would say the word is unplanned, and I think that unplanned nature of the journey is what really helped me become what I am today.
Wow. So, do you remember that one film about which you wrote and sort of got published? Is there any writing like that before you joined Film Companion, of course? Like
Yeah,
any.
no, I had a longer career before Film Companion. I've been Film Companion only 3 years. Before that, I was in the Hindu for 6 years. I was in the Express for 6 years. Uh, I think it was the Omkara review, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I think
Right.
I think was that around 2005-ish, 5, 6 maybe. I don't know. I think that was kind of one review that got me a lot of notice. I think I'm not sure exactly, but I think that probably around that time. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So, what did you like or dislike about Omkara? Like, what did you like about Omkara?
Oh no, I really like the movie a lot. So the way I was writing about songs, and I just think the way I wrote. See, the thing is, we are a generation of critics that see, before us there was the pure print generation,
Mm-hmm.
and after us there is the pure electronic media generation, the digital generation. So we were what I'd call the blog generation of critics, because it's like we started out at a time when everyone had a blog, and you'd find that like almost every blog would have a name like my musings or random musings, or my things like that. So when I say we, I mean like me, Raja Sen, people like us all came around the same time, like 2002, 3, 4, around about that period. And I
Mm-hmm.
think so. What liberated us was the fact that we were writing for publications. Either the publication itself was digital, and therefore there was no word limit, or I could write 500 or 600 words for the publication and have a much longer version on my blog.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of the lengthy review was something that started with our generation, simply because we had a space to put it out. I always say that there is one thing, that something that's called being there at the right place at the right time. For us, it was this: being there when this kind of blogs happened, and this media just said, otherwise, had we been around even with the same mental abilities, but 10 years back, we would have still been in the newspaper and they would have said, we only have this much space and you can only give us 250 words. And we would have had to write 250 words and we would not have any place to put the fuller review. I might have written it out in a diary or a notebook or something like that and kept it for myself, but there would have been no way to reach it out to a larger public.
Right, right.
So the fact that blogs came along really helped that a lot. And I think so we were the first generation of blog critics, and that was something that took off in a big way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So,
and more importantly, sorry to interrupt, but more
of course.
importantly, the blogs helped me find a wider audience through the internet. So that cannot be discounted. Otherwise, I would have been just read where the newspaper was being distributed.
Right. So, did it take time to get the I'm talking about this about your blog. Did it take time to get that attention? Like how do you make a audience? In the sense, I'm asking how was it received by your viewers, by your readers at first? I mean, did it instantly got an attention, or did it take some time to get attention?
I'm not sure actually, because now that
Why
you
I'm
mention,
asking this is because, and there's a reason why I'm asking this, because we know a lot of bloggers. I have a lot of blogger friends who are also art appreciator. They're writing on films, theater. So many of them have stopped because it's like, oh no, we have tried doing it for a year. We have tried doing it, but we are not getting views. We are not getting readers. So what's the point? Why should I write? Because if I'm not getting
right.
readers, which is why I'm asking, was it difficult? Was it not difficult to
Okay.
get?
I see, one thing I would tell those friends is that you have to keep continuing to blog, because see, the thing is you have to enjoy the process, not the end result. If you like writing, you should keep writing, even if there's just one person reading and that's you, because otherwise, you're writing for a result, and that's not, I don't know if that's ever useful. But for me, I think I found like a small community that kept growing. It's like people find you and then they like you, and then they kind of this was pre-Facebook and Twitter, I think. I think, when did Twitter come? When did Facebook come? I'm asking you,
Sorry. I think, well, it has to be before 2009, because I came to Facebook in 2009.
9, right? So we are still talking about 7 years before Facebook, right? So it's like 6 to 7 years before Facebook, and Twitter came after that. So people still congregated to blogs, and I think I've built a following there, a community there, and a lot of them have stayed. They've stayed. They like to write long comments. They like to discuss. There is one person here who's from Bits, whose name, if I'm recognizing it right, he's a silent lurker on the blog. And yeah, it's been there. It took me, I would say, it was a slow thing, but like I said, there weren't that many of us writing long pieces about cinema at the time, so the choices were just like 5 or 6 people. So it's not like today where you have thousands of people writing about cinema, right? It's like, so it was it was, I think, easier to find people.
Right,
Yeah.
of course.
And now I think it's become much more difficult, because people have lost the reading habit. So they watch more than they read. So that's definitely something. And I think, because we started 10 years, or 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, so we are still kind of seen as the old guard. Maybe we're still seen as like, okay, if I have to read, I'll read this person's review because I've been reading him for so long. Like a habit, So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So we have our first question, and so Srijan, if you are there, could you please switch on your camera and ask Mr. Rangan your question, please?
That's it. That's it from you.
No, I mean, we will go on. I mean, these are the questions that we already
Oh, okay.
have.
All right.
So I have my questions as well.
Okay.
Hello, sir. I'm an ardent admirer of your reviews and interviews, but
Thank you
as
so
the
much.
editor of Film Companion South and before that a deputy editor with The Hindu, I wanted to know why film journalism rarely seems to cover the film industry in its entirety. It seems to me like film journalism is primarily dedicated to interviewing the principal people involved in the production of a film rather than the wide industry within which a film is made. So,
That's a very good question, and I've always asked this of people, and I've always been asked this as well. Like, why do you always interview directors and stars and the DOPs and the bigger people, and why don't you interview certain behind the scenes people? It's also, see, a lot of this is also business, right? It's like if enough people say that they want, see, I've always tell people this: there is no point watching films on OTT, not watching them on the big screen, and then saying that, oh, this movie flopped, it's so sad, we don't know how to appreciate good cinema, simply because your every ticket is a vote for the kind of cinema that you want to watch. So if you want a particular kind of cinema, unless you buy the ticket for that kind of cinema and go watch it, people are not going to make that kind of cinema, right? So if you want to watch a particular kind of interview, you vote by watching that interview. And if you enough people in numbers do that, because the thing is, we at the end of the day, we are all businesses. We belong to corporations, right? There are certain deadlines to be sorry, not financial things to be met. So when and this business model is a weird one, because I am spending X amount of money making a video, you are consuming it for free, right? So I so when I spend my X amount of money for a video, I have to 9 times out of 10 try to make sure that it's going to be a video that's going to be consumed by as many people that will ensure some kind of guarantee return on my investment, right? Now it's a very sad thing, and I wish that there was some kind of business model that would allow a better to do what you basically said, because this is something that we all want to do. But I think if right now the reason that many people don't do that yet is because of this.
thank you,
Does
sir.
that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does.
Does that
Thank you.
sound very cynical also? I don't know. I think it sounds a little cynical, but
It does sound cynical, but it sounds realistic as well. After all,
yeah,
we're all doing this as professionals for our livelihood. So
yeah, I know. So
if I prefer to watch a star being interviewed, then I'm also contributing to the system.
system, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like a lot of people say things like, oh yeah, there's like all the theaters give the big screens to the Khan movies and all that, but why do they do that? If you go and watch an Irfan Khan movie instead of a Shah Rukh Salman Amir movie, the theater is not into quality. They're only interested in making as much money as possible, and with the ticket sales. So the more the ticket sales for X star, the more the bigger the seats, the sorry screens that particular star's movies will get. It's a very simple economics, because nobody's favoring one particular person, or that kind of person. If a movie doesn't do well in its second week, it'll be taken off. So like a lot of people say, well, we couldn't see Son Chidiya because it was not being screened in as many scenes. But why? Because that model of cinema is not being seen as viable. If you sort of Son Chidiya in theaters and watch it in enough numbers to make it a success, then people are going to say, wow, this movie has an audience. Let me play it in more, give it more shows the next time a movie like this comes along. It's very simple.
Right. Okay. Before we go to another question, this is my question, and you might have got this question a lot, but then okay, I'm going to ask you. Okay, I'm going to ask you. So, what is the difference between a film review and a film critic?
Yeah, I've got this a lot. For me, a film review is like a product review. It's like I give this example a lot. It's like when you go on Amazon and you want to check out a product, you look at what other people have written about it. because a piece of film criticism is something that goes deep into a film without caring whether somebody else uh, 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 is going to feel the same way. It's basically you giving your analysis of a film without feeling the need to recommend it to other people.
So is it,
At the end of the day, your enthusiasm for a film may make another person say, "Oh wow, let me also like this person seems to have liked it. Let me also try watching it." That's different, but you're not doing it with the explicit purpose of recommending a film to another person.
so it means then you have a personal connection to the writing, that what you're writing? So let's, I mean, for example, I'll just give you an example. Like there is this film called by Rituparna Ghosh, Just Another Love Story, which is in Bangla, Arekti Premer Golpo. That is my all-time favorite. And I recommend that film voraciously to anyone.
Right.
So when if I am writing this and I'm trying to criticize, or whether I'm writing a film criticism about that film, I am putting my heart out and I'm literally writing, this is good, this is bad. So when you as a third person reading that, aren't you getting influenced? Because
That's what I'm saying. But my influence is because you're so passionate about it.
right.
My influence is not because you're trying to influence.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying go watch the movie. This is so great. So you should.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm
Right.
saying is this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is. So I look at it like a travel. This is my journey through the movie, right? It's like I'm starting at this point, I'm ending this point, and this is my journey through the movie. And other people might have different journeys through the same movie.
Mm.
One of the favorite examples that I like to give is this movie called Kanathil Muthamittal by Mani Ratnam. It's about an adoption situation, and I found that teenagers watching the movie have a very different reaction to the movie than newly married people who are considering children watching the movie, to parents who have biological children watching the movie, to parents who have adopted children watching the movie. So, there are, because everything is so personal. For me, my whole philosophy of movie watching is that it's personal. There is no two ways about it. The movie, you go and communicate with the movie, and that conversation is what is recorded as a review or as a piece of criticism. You are not there to recommend the movie to other people. You really don't care whether somebody else thinks this director is a good director or not, whether this director is a bad director or not. If that film does speaks to you or does not speak to you, that is what you're putting down, and that to me is what the piece of criticism is.
Right. And so in that case, when I am watching a movie, I mean, when I'm watching a movie, and you know how people say that as you say, that movie is good, that movie is bad. What is it? I mean, what is it that I see? What is it that I should see if I want? I mean, should see in the film to say good or bad? Is it the storytelling? Because
No, it's the whole experience.
no, but
It's your experience, and that experience is a mix of all the arts that film comprises of. So it's like if you're describing a scene, you would talk about how you process that scene, how good that scene is, because it's staged in a certain way, and the actors are doing this, and like the production design complements this, or whatever it is that you want to talk about. And that is what see the for me, I have found that, see, I'm not a very popular reviewer, but I have a very loyal following. Okay. And that's because if I were to be a more popular reviewer, then I'd probably have to tone down a lot of what I'm writing and give a simpler evaluation of the movie.
right, right.
Whereas I have a bunch of people that like my reviewing because I kind of go the extra mile to justify why I thought a particular way about a movie. And that resonates with people who think the same way as I do about cinema.
Right, that's true. So, okay, so then I'll move to another question from the audience. Archana, Could you please switch on your camera and ask your question?
Hi, so I'm just going to ask the question and switch off video because the internet here is very bad. But my question, I'm sure you've heard it many, many times, but what is your recommendation of the top 5 movies one must watch before they die, and why, and what makes it special? Is it just the story or the characters or the direction, or it touched you personally? So that's my question.
Okay, so my answer to this question is there is no such thing as a list of top 5 movies that one should watch before they die, because the word "should" immediately makes it sound like it's a chore. Like, oh my God, I should brush my teeth. Oh my God, I need to drink my lime water early in the morning. No, I don't think movies are like that. I think you should watch whatever makes you happy. If watching comedies makes you happy, then that's what it is. If watching serious dramas makes you happy, that's what it is. If watching the so-called classics, if you made a list of, oh, you know what, these movies are supposed to be classics, so I want to give them all a shot before I kick the bucket, then that should be your goal. I think your goal should be personal, and I don't think you should depend on other people for this particular thing, because art is such a subjective thing that, let's take a book, right? I really enjoyed a book called A Little Life by Hanya Yanikar. I'm not pronouncing the name properly, but that's a very depressing book, and it moved me enormously. But I know people that who gave up after 100 pages, saying that, "Oh my God, this is so sad. I don't want to read such a sad book." So I would say that I don't like making lists for people. If I were to make a list for people, then like a tailor, I would ask you a whole bunch of questions. What genre do you like? What this one do you like? What kind of stuff do you like? And then I would probably maybe custom make a list for you, rather than just saying, uh, you know, go watch Citizen Kane at once or something like that. Just like I would never do that. So
So
I
maybe
was,
I can
yeah,
maybe
go
I
ahead.
can
Tell me.
rephrase that. I meant something that you enjoyed. Maybe not. Maybe I may not enjoy it at the end of it, like you said, the book you read that was very sad, and maybe many people may not read it. Like that, a list of movies you think you'd like. You like top 5 movies you like.
God, it's 5 is always so difficult. It's like it's the killer list. It's a I'm going to pass this because I really don't. But if I were to choose by genre, then I don't know. It's so difficult. Yeah, it's like I don't know. Godfather, Chinatown. I would rather place eras. I love uh, anything. A lot of films made in Hollywood from the 70s to the 80s. I love a lot of movies made in India, like I love the parallel cinema movement in Hindi. I love what directors like Mahendran and Balu Mahendra and Bharti Raja did in Tamil. So there's like a it's too much. It's like it's too all over the place. Yeah. So
Okay. So the third question is Shankar Nagarajan. So, sir, if you're there, could you please switch on your camera? Yeah.
Hey, Barry, how are you?
okay, so it is you. Okay, I was like, what are you?
I decided to wake up in the morning and do this.
Good for you. Good to see you, man. So
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. So I have a two-part question for you.
okay.
I'll start this off by saying that obviously I'm a huge fan of going and watching movies in the theaters, right?
Right.
But with the pandemic and with the spate of theater chains that are closing, are we seeing a slow or inevitable march towards OTT? That's my first part of the question. The second part is, given the economics of the OTT platform, how do you think it's going to influence content? The content that's being produced, especially with, are we going to see more? I mean, there's creative freedom in terms of anthology films and things like that. But then what's going to happen to those blockbusters that we love to watch? Those big screen spectacles and such. So just your thoughts on that.
So I would just say that at least right now, nobody can take a call on this, because I've been having a lot of chats with producers and distributors and people like that. So we are in a peculiar situation because, see, OTT was beginning to get to a position where the smaller film was going to end up with the OTT space, and the bigger films with the bigger stars was going to be, going to, be in theaters.
Mhm.
But now we're in such a peculiar situation with this pandemic that even that's not guaranteeing anything. The Bond movie's been pushed to, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
2000, end of 2021 or something like that. I don't know, bizarre. Like, so we're looking at now. Let's say, like in Tamil cinema, let's say if theaters don't open, the big two movies are the Dhanush movie and the Vijay movie that are awaiting release. There are no movies in the pipeline after that, because production has been shut down. So even if theaters open, what are they going to show?
Probably
For
re-release of movies, yeah,
yeah,
to begin with.
but are people going to go for re-releases of movies that are already now available on OTT?
Yeah.
So there's a right now is a very, like, your question, I don't think can be answered with any level of certainty, simply because this pandemic has created such a weird question mark over this whole experience. And
Yeah.
yes, we all love watching movies in theaters and all that, but given the fact that in India rules are not easily enforced and people do not tend to follow rules easily. Let's say, like I was just like outside today, and I found, like, at an event, and I found so many people without masks, and it was like a very crowded event. And some and people, uh, I totally get it. Some people are sick of this whole thing. They are like, I'm just like, I can't keep traveling around with a mask anymore. But the point is that you're putting other people at risk. So, and our theaters that are already bleeding from, say, 6 to 8 months of shutdown, are they going to really follow the 50% capacity rule? Are they going to, or are they going to secretly say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to pay off somebody and give 100% capacity to, if people want to watch, because I'm going to just say, it's your risk. It's, if you want to watch it, then what do you do?
Right.
So,
No, it is certainly very interesting, because at least in Tamil cinema, you see that, the Surya's movie is like going to go on OTT platform. But whereas when you look at Hollywood, right, every major release is basically being held back, whether that's Tom Cruise's Maverick or, the Bond film, or pretty much every major release is being held back.
yeah. See, there could be another reason for this also, right? It's like, because, see, Surya's film got a very good price because it was sold as an OTT premiere. Whereas there have been a lot of films that have been sold to OTTs, but not as premiere. See, premiere fetches an extra price.
Yeah.
So
But still, I think one of the other reasons I asked the question was because, given the whole, star salary, syndrome and so forth, especially in Indian cinema, I think the economics of the OTT platform doesn't suit that, at least today, unless something changes.
It won't suit it. And but the point is that I think the salaries will have to come down, and because I just think that people are just not going to go to theaters anymore because they want to watch a movie. They're going to go to theaters only if they feel that particular movie is worth watching in a theater. Okay, so that's going to definitely happen. And I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be your tentpole movies or whatever, but I'm just saying that people have to want to say, I think I want to go watch this movie in a theater, because now the entertainment options are multiplied. If I have 3 hours, I can watch some random YouTube video. Like I can watch 20 of them. Now one of my favorite unwind. Before, every time I got half an hour or an hour to kill, I would end up watching a movie or something like that. Now I like to unwind by because Facebook has this algorithm where it recognizes the videos that you like, right? So there'll be bits of the Graham Norton show or things that you like I love this, whose line is it anyway? I love improv comedy, stuff like that. And they're all like 3 to 4 minutes long, so I can just watch 5 or 6 of them, and instead of watching one sustained stretch of any one thing. So because that attention has also diversified. One of the things I wanted to tell you was, like, I was talking about this book earlier, right? When I was a kid, I used to consume like 2 to 3 books a week. Like now, it takes me 3 months to finish a book.
Same thing. Yep.
It's like and I'm shocked because it's like the story is interesting. I'm interested. Everything is there, but somehow after 10 pages, the mind begins to wander, and you want to be doing something else. I think all of us are getting rewired in strange ways. Like because of all these things. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting future for sure. But as you will definitely endorse, and I know you, so you will definitely endorse this. I just feel glad that I lived through an era of sustained movie watching, which many kids today are never going to know what it's all about. So
Hey,
it's like,
nothing to beat watching movies in a theater. Nothing to
yeah,
beat
yeah,
that.
nothing beat that. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, thanks for
Hey,
answering the
thanks for
question.
coming, man. Thanks for coming. Lovely
We'll
to
catch
see
up
you.
later. Bye.
Yeah.
I think something just came to my mind because since you were talking about the whole aspect of time and movies, a similar thing also happens in theater. So previously you have the whole jatra, which used to happen the whole night, and then theater came down to 4 hours, then came 2 hours. So now literally you have plays which are happening for 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So so the entire challenge is to tell a story in a minute,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, it's
and
become like that. See, I'll, but, in the in the early part of the 19th, late 18th, 19th centuries, sorry, late 19th, early part of the 20th century, Carnatic music concerts used to happen all night.
yeah.
They used to start. The concerts used to happen all night, and people used to listen. But then like they became 4 hours, and then 4 hours became 3 hours, and now I think no concert lasts more than 2.5 hours because people don't have the patience for it.
Exactly.
To sit in a place and listen to, you feel fidgety, you feel like whipping out your phone. That's what I was saying. We're all being rewired in various ways, and without realizing it. And I think, I mean, I'm not particularly sad about it or anything like that, because change is inevitable. But I just, like I told Shankar, I'm just glad I lived through that period to an extent, and that was a really something else. So waiting
Absolutely.
for the movies that would come to theaters, and I'm old enough to say this because I'm like when I was growing up, the foreign films wouldn't come to India immediately. They'd come like after 5 or 6 months or something like that. So we get all these prints with ghosts and pock marks and things like that, and suddenly the reel would just like suddenly shake. And now you have all these digital prints. Nobody would even know what I'm talking about, but the projector would shake, and you'd get these prints where one reel was missing or something like that. It was just so much fun. You just like it was like a the badness, the what the so-called negative things that I'm talking about were part of the experience. Now everything has become perfect, and you have this cube and digital and all these things, but I just have a nostalgia for those days as well.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just in connection to what you said. I think I have lived a little bit of it because I clearly remember my first experience of multiplex theater was Kabhi Kuchi Kabhi Gum. That was the film I saw for the first time in multiplex, and I was waiting eagerly. And I remember I was just about to go for my 10th board, and that was the only film I was allowed to watch before I'd gone to my 10th board. So I understand that I was like, no, I had a deal with my parents that no, that is the film, and okay, after that, no more films for 2 months. And the kind of joy I had when I saw the whole thing,
Yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan running. Oh my God. That,
Yeah. No, there are some movies that you want to watch alone. Like I remember watching a Bridge of Spies in a theater.
oh
Uh,
yes.
uh, and I was extremely annoyed because I think the bunch of kids sitting in the front row, they thought because the word spies was there, they thought it was going to be like a James Bond kind of movie, and this was like a very talky film. And I think I've come to the realization that these intimate dramas and these serious adult films I would rather watch alone. I cannot handle noise in a theater. But there is some, when you say Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, when you're watching a big star, when you're watching songs in a theater, when you're watching comedy in a theater, or horror in a theater, that experience cannot be beaten. When you're watching a horror film in a theater versus on your laptop or whatever it is, there's
Oh
just
God.
no comparison at all.
Conjuring. Oh
Yeah.
God. So is there, do you cry in movies?
A lot. A lot. And actually, I wish more movies made me cry, because when I cry, my sinuses open up, and I have a sinus condition, and I really feel I breathe much better after a movie where I've cried. So I'm like, please make me cry. I want to cry. So.
Okay, we have our next question. Chandini, if you're there, could you please switch on your camera?
Hi, Baradwaj.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you here. So,
Good to be here.
yep, thank you. So, my question would be like, though you say that you feel you're the older generation of film critics, but you would have definitely seen or had the occasion to interact with an older generation of people in film journalism prior to you. So, did you have the occasion to intensively or extensively interact with the older generation of film critics from the print era? And if so, have you been impressed or influenced by the style of any particular person, any film journalist? And what differences do you see across the generations of film journalists and critics across the time you've been, prior to you and after you?
See, again, this is just a matter of space. I think ours was the first generation to really write seriously and critically and analytically about cinema. I'm not saying that we were the only first people who could do it. I'm just saying we are the first people who did it, simply because the space was available, right? So when you look at the previous generation, they, even if they were very good articulators of what they felt or something like that, they just could not go beyond a particular word limit. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm not really influenced by any of them, simply because that style is not what I follow at all. The critics that I really revere are the people that I stumbled upon in that bits library, and the people that I later discovered, like the American, mostly American film critics. I'm very influenced by American film criticism, and yeah, those are the people that I'm really influenced by. But one Indian critic that I really love is Maithili Rao. She used to write for Man's World magazine, and she used to write extensive pieces on. I don't know if she still does, but she's written a book on Smita Patil. I really used to like her work a lot. But speaking of the older generation of critics, I used to like reading these reviews of this gentleman who used to write in the Express. I think his name was Krishna Swami or something like that, because he had a certain flair, like while writing, it was not some generic stuff. He had certain flair, and I used to bug my poor friends. Vinod, if you're watching this, I am sorry I made you do this. I used to make them cut the reviews out and put it in a cover and mail it to me to Pilani because I used to want to read it there. So that there was a certain flair. But the point is that you could really do much with. See, even if that's what I'm saying. See, even if I had an editor telling me, listen, you have only 300 words, simply because see, the blog generation and later the digital revolution has made it possible to write seriously about cinema, right? Earlier, because you had only X number of words, you could only write what was a kind of a recommendation, because it had to be all purpose. Now, Film Companion can afford to be really serious about cinema because it only covers cinema. Mm-hmm. But a Hindu cannot afford to be this serious about cinema because they are a multi, they serve many interests. They serve people who read for business. So if you write one hugely analytical film review, I don't even know if there would be readers for that. So I think it's also a question of that. But yes, the film critics that influenced me are mostly the American ones. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shantari.
Thank you.
So, the next question is also, it was one of my questions as well. And I'm just going to read out. So this is Lata Rajshekhar, and she wants to know that as a budding blogger of movie reviews from a small town, Salem in Tamil Nadu, I would like to know about the structure that Baradwaj Rangan uses to write his reviews. So it was the same. I would have asked you the same question as well. Do you have a structure, like how do you approach writing your writing?
No, I don't have a structure. I think it's bad to have a structure because then you get limited. Uh, but I do. But one thing that's really one thing that's really liberated me has been uh, the like the fact that I no longer want to write the best review of every film. Earlier, I used to pressure myself like, oh God, the opening sentence should be a cracker and the closing should be like this dhamaka and this like, I should, the paragraph segue should be fantastic. And I no longer put that kind of pressure on myself. I'm like, just let it flow and it will flow, because you've been doing it for so long that the good stuff will happen. There will be days when the good stuff doesn't happen, bad stuff will happen, or mediocre stuff will happen. But you cannot beat yourself up every time that doesn't happen. But that said, the structure comes from my wanting to narrate an experience as opposed to wanting to build little blocks of each aspect of a movie. I don't want to devote one bit to acting and one bit to photography and one bit to screenplay. That's something I never want to do. So I try to kind of mix everything together and write about it. And I largely write about scenes. Like I will like to illustrate my point. I will say this scene kind of like this performance works because take the scene where this actor is supposed to do this. She does it in such a great way. Instead of doing this typical thing, she does this other thing. Things like that. I think my structure, or rather, if you were to boil down my style to its essence, I would say it's basically trying to explain everything and not just make sweeping declarations. Right. Like, for instance, if I want to say a performance is good, I would try to say why I think it's good rather than just say it's a good performance. Yeah.
So do you watch theater?
A bit, yeah. My problem with theater is that Daru is going to kill me for this. Is that I just don't find enough theater that's involving.
Okay.
So it's like, but I do believe the Bangalore theater scene is much better than the Chennai theater scene.
How about in Bombay? When you're in Bombay?
No, I've never been to theater in Bombay because I always go there for such short and focused visits that I've never really stayed. And because I've heard that they have a fantastic theater scene. But I've never really seen that.
Right now, Bombay theater is at a top notch. Like you have some very very amazing people working, like Sri Shanbag or Akash Khurana. I mean, they're really like doing
stuff. And they've also provided a great source of actors to Hindi cinema now. So that you can see the difference in the character actors now versus earlier. So it's like it's so much of training that comes there. But here it's like I've not seen that much that I've been very impressed by. Yeah.
Right. So what do you think about mini series? There's the latest thing that are coming in OTT.
Yeah, so I love mini series compared to bigger series because I'm an ending junkie. I can never leave anything midway. So even if it's the worst film on earth, if I've started watching it, I have to finish watching it. I have this compulsion. So I would rather watch mini series because they're over in 8 episodes or something like that, rather than put myself through like my God, 10 seasons of 13 episodes each or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'm never going to find the time for that, and it's just going to go on and on. So I love miniseries. Yeah.
So, like, how do you place miniseries as against to cinema? And why I'm asking this is because, so I recently watched 2 of these miniseries, which is The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is by this director called Mike Flanagan. And Mike Flanagan has done films as well. I hated his films, but I loved his miniseries. Like I loved both the series. So do you think there are certain subjects or stories are dealt better in miniseries than in cinema? Because obviously there's a time constraint thing.
I don't think they're necessarily dealt better. I just think that film as a theatrical outlet has to say a lot of things within a very short time. Whereas miniseries have, they give characters space to breathe. They give, you can go off on subplots that you would be forced to cut down in cinema. So you get a really, really good idea of what it was. Like one of the miniseries I really enjoyed was Feud, which came out maybe 6 months ago. It's between the rivalry between Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. And I'm a huge old Hollywood buff. So this was like a wonderful recreation of, Warner Brothers and Paramount and all those old Hollywood studios and stuff like that. I really, really enjoyed that series. And because, the characters are familiar to me and stuff like that. And I also enjoyed the way the whole thing breathed. There was just so much air around the thing. It was not like everything was rushing to, thing. But that said, I have seen excellent 90-minute, 80-minute films that do a damn good job of what they set out to do. So I think it's more. I don't think you can compare one versus the other.
Okay.
I think it's more of the subject, maybe the characters, like another things. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have our next question. Khadija, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Could you switch on your camera, please? Yes. Hi. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Yes, sir. So I'm a student at ACJ, and I just want to say that I'm a big fan of your reviews. And but the only problem is that I didn't get your elective because it was already too crowded. So, sir, I just want to ask you that what are the other ways in which I can attend more interactive sessions with you and have access to the genius that you are?
You can come and audit the class if you don't have any clashing classes. You're more happy to do that. But I think more than me in particular. I think now you kids are so much. You have this great advantage of so much stuff on the internet. Like I remember when I wanted to watch. The way I developed my knowledge of older films was I had to join a film club, which would show foreign films, and then I had to join the USIS, cultural wing, and they'd give me a card and they'd screen American movies, old American movies every Tuesday, and we used to go for that. Now it's so easy to watch any movie. It's like you have huge libraries out there, movies there, all kinds of stuff is there. Plus, if you want to, you know how you can get those other films. So it's like, there's all these, so there is no excuse for you to say now that I have no opportunity to watch these. So there are film essayists, there are people giving master classes on the web. There's just so much out there, to read, which is why, in fact, these days when somebody dies and I have to write an obituary, I don't even bother with things like he was born in something or he was born on this date or something, because it's all there. You don't need to give so much information anymore. It's all common knowledge. So I would say, just if you like a particular medium, whether it is art or whatever it is, just go and seek it out on the web. And if you're really interested in cinema, also listen to a lot of musical analysis, listen to a lot of analysis of paintings, things like that will help you develop an eye for a way to look on a canvas, how to recognize light, to see how things are done, how to recognize movement. I teach all this in my class because it's like, people just come to a cinema and start saying, oh, it's just cinema, but actually there's so much more, but I'm sorry you didn't get the elective, and I hope to see you in at least one or two of the classes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Hey, but you should ask, because it's all on Zoom this year,
Yes.
maybe there's a recording and maybe you can watch it later.
Definitely, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes, sir. So sorry to interrupt, but could you, this is one curiosity. Do you have any favorite Fahad Fazil film?
Favorite, I like a lot of them. I would say I really like Chance recently. I really like movies that go for broke. I mean, Maheshita Pratikaram is the better movie overall, but something in me responds to people going all out and trying something, even though it might fail. That spirit of let's do this shit and see what happens. That really speaks to me, you know. So I loved watching Trance. Yeah.
Same. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, any movie that has not worked for you recently, like any film that you have seen and you're
Oh
like,
my God, how much time do I have? It's like
maybe one you can say, like not naming it, but what didn't work for it, or maybe if you want, you can name it.
I don't know. There are so many movies that don't work for you.
Like
I'm just trying
recently,
to,
anything that you've seen which
yeah, I'm just
you
trying to
thought,
remember which ones I just watched so many that I keep forgetting. You know, there are a lot of generic movies that don't work. A lot of the recent releases on OTT platforms haven't worked for me at all. They just seem movies that were lazily dumped on OTT because they wouldn't work on bigger platforms, you know, on the theatrical viewing or something like that. One movie I would say I expected a lot more was this Amazon anthology, Putam Pudukale. I kind of, with the reputation of the directors, I was kind of hoping for more. But so, I mean, it's not a bad movie or anything like that, but the collection of stories, they're a little generic. And I was like, wow, I kind of expected something more from
the horror one. Are you talking about the horror?
No, the one with the COVID situation one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen this film, Tikli and the Lakshmi Bomb? Tikli and Lakshmi Bomb in
long back, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So did it work for you?
It really worked for me. Yeah.
I started watching it this afternoon. And
okay. Where is it? Is it on a place?
It's available on Netflix.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the next question. Hari Krishnan, if you're there, could you please switch on your camera? Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
My question is that is there anyone a favorite actor or director who you admire the most?
I admire a lot of directors across the thing, but I have a special admiration for people like Steven Spielberg and Mani Ratnam, who and Clint Eastwood, who have remained at the top of their profession for like decades. You know, this is a profession where you just get killed if your movie doesn't do well. But to kind of be at the top of your craft for you know, like and I'm talking purely director, not the screenwriting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so you know, like Eastwood is, I don't know, approaching 90 if he's not already 90, to keep making the movies that he does, man, amazing. So for me, that's something that personally inspires me, because you know, it shows that you know, there is no age for this kind of thing. You know, like as long as you strive to keep, when you see the post, for instance, so beautifully made. It's like when you see Bridge of Spies. I mean, it's like, you know, one of the best ways to find out how good a director is to mute the film and watch only the images, like a silent movie, right? And then you'll find out like how the staging has been done and how the actors have been choreographed and things like that. And if you do this with these directors, some of these directors, you'll just discover that, my God, it's unbelievable that they've been doing this at like what Jaws was 75. So we're talking about like 45 years of being that kind of a thing. You know, Mani Ratnam has started making movies in the early 80s, and you know, he's still you know, there. And these guys are very, very inspiring for me. As for filmmakers right now that I love, I love Lijo George Pellicheri. I love Vetrimaran's work. I love Mishkin's work. I really love the eccentricity in his work. I love Bansali's work. I really like the way he stages his film as a cross between performance art and drama and theater and cinema and Ravi Verma painting, and it's so unique that it's amazing. Yeah, so these are some of the filmmakers that I love.
Okay, thank you, sir. And, which is your favorite Kamal Hassan film? I'm a fan of it.
That's very difficult question to answer. I just love so many films, but probably Moonram Pere.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hari. Thank you so much. So, okay, next question is from Tirumala. Tirumala ji, if you're there, could you please switch on your camera? Right. Sorry, it's Tirumala. I'm really sorry I pronounced your name wrong. Really sorry. Apologies.
No problem. A very good evening, dear sir. It's like a fanboy moment for me because since childhood, I've grown up seeing your reviews in the E-Hindu.
Oh, God.
And been following on the Film Companion. So it's like a fanboy moment for me.
Thank you.
A great fan,
every time somebody says, sometimes says, I've been reading you since my childhood, like a few dozen age cells are within me. I feel 55 years older. Thank you.
You're always young on your words, sir. You're always young on your words. So, since you've been doing a review for the past 2 decades, I'd like to ask you about the evolution of Tamil cinema in the past 2 decades, sir. Because the entry of short filmmakers in Tamil cinema, that is the pre-2011 scenario and the post-2011 scenario, how do you see Tamil cinema as a medium of expression, sir? That is one part of my question. And very often in the film discussion and blogs, we see the comment that the regional is the new national. What is your view on that? And these two are one part of my question. Another part.
Okay.
During the
first decade, can I just answer this first, and then I'll answer the other one before I forget. Regarding regional is the new national, I think it is true to a small extent. See, I really believe that a majority of the people watch films in their language plus English. Yes. And maybe Hindi. Like you take the average Tamilian, they'll watch Tamil movies. They might go and watch James Bond movies. They might say, "Oh, Amir Khan film, it's supposed to be good. Let's go watch it," or whatever it is, But I don't think that the average viewer really takes the effort to go too much into other languages because they're happy with their thing, and that's I think about 80 to 85% of the viewing public. It's very easy to get misled by articles in newspapers and Twitter talk that suddenly everybody's watching Fahad Fasil movies and suddenly everybody's recognizing Tamil cinema and suddenly everybody's, I don't think that's happening. I think everybody, meaning cinephiles, definitely yes. Cinephiles, if you like cinema, you seek out cinema, then definitely yes. But otherwise, I think most people are very comfortable in that because there's so much to watch in your own language. Why would you keep going to other languages? Many people don't like reading subtitles. So why would you watch that, right? I mean, unless you know the language already. So I do think there is some truths to this regional is the new national in terms of the cinephiles and the more advanced viewer, but I don't think the average movie going public, the so-called masses that say, I don't think that's happening with them. What is the question you asked before that? 2 decades something.
Yes, sir. In your 2 decades of reviewing Tamil cinema, how do you see Tamil cinema pre-2011 and post-2011? That is the entry of short filmmakers in Tamil cinema.
Right. I think it's become exciting to an extent, but I don't see the change that I hope would happen, which is I thought people would shed all these bad habits of giving messages and, long dialogues and things like that. But somehow that hasn't really happened in Tamil cinema. We still have a lot of people who don't know the basic grammar of filmmaking. who kind of, it's become very frustrating to kind of see some, see, the point is, it's not, people always say that, oh, you critics don't like masala movies. No, actually, that's not fair. We love masala movies. But like you have Dil, you have Dool, you have Run, these Abura Sakodragal, these are all great masala movies. You love
Masala
watching them
movies,
because
yes.
they're done so well. But Gilly, there are so many movies that are done so well. But the point is that now it's become so lazy that you just have the hero walking in slow motion, and it's become so calculated to give the hero's fans those fanboy moments. So for me, that all that I thought would change. I thought a lot of that would change because people will get more adventurous with their choice of scripts and films and things like that. Uh, it has definitely happened. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but it hasn't happened to the extent that I thought it would have. But that said, there is genuinely new energy, and I also find that there are more producers who are willing to back scripts that are adventurous, which might not have found producers earlier. So I think that's a really major change. So I think what happens is sometimes we think that we are too hasty to give a trend, to label something a trend, and I think that's what happened in 2011, 12 when people started coming. There was this Balaji Tardidharan, there was Kartik Subaraj, there was Nalan. All these guys, all people came in, and were like, wow, amazing. Like now Tamil cinema has changed. But then you find that like it was more a moment. Same thing that happened when Durvangal Padanar happened, and after that you had like about for 6 months a number of directors kept first time directors kept giving damn good movies. You had Lokesh with Managaram, you had Kuranga Bomai, you had like a bunch of movies that were really really good, and you thought, wow, this is an amazing movement that's happening. But then that just dropped. So I think it all depends on a number of things. But I think, yeah, I would like to see more change. At least the change that's happening in Malayalam cinema has not happened in Tamil cinema at all.
Okay.
You had something else to
Sir,
want to add. Yeah.
Very true, sir. Very true, sir. And another question regarding film criticism. If while I was at school, print was the only medium where I could read film criticisms. But now anyone with a phone is a film critic. How do you see this trend, sir? How do you see this trend? Like the reviewers on YouTube and the reviewers on print, and what you're doing right now in film companion is something very commendable. How do you see the evolution of this trend, like from print to everyone becoming a film critic? How do you see that, sir?
In a practical
though I buy
sense,
film appreciation, and I buy the word film appreciation better than film criticism, though.
Yeah.
And your views on that, sir?
So I think it's always good to have more voices, as long as they're informed voices. But one thing I'm really relieved in a practical way is that because everybody's a film critic and everybody wants to put out a review on Twitter or Facebook, the pressure of recommending movies has been taken off film critics' shoulders. I never used to do that anyway, but I still used to get the pressure of, like, at least in the headline, why don't you tell people whether you liked it or not, or something like that. Now that's not happening because the word of mouth has already started spreading half an hour after the movie began, 10 minutes after the movie began. So that pressure is no longer there for the film critic. But regarding things, I think it's always good that many people are there, because just because we don't like something, or we prefer a deeper understanding of film or whatever it is, we can't deny the fact that there are tons of other people who want lighter forms of it, right? Now, yes, everybody has something that they want, and everybody has something that they follow. I'll give a classic example of, like, I love Kartik Subaraj's films, right? But the number of people who watch Tamil serials will be, I think, 100 times more than the number of people who watch Kartik Subaraj films.
Very true, sir.
I'm talking about mega serials or whatever it is, right? Does this mean Kartik's films are not good? No. It just means that more people like this sort of uncomplicated entertainment, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
I think both have their place. Kartik can make his own movies. The serial people have their own audience. So I don't think, as long as people are getting stuff to watch that they like, I think it's all good. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much, sir. I wish I could. Your book on Maniratnam was really great, sir. I enjoyed reading it. I wish I could have seen Kadal to Kalyanam on silver screen, so I don't know what happened to the film.
I would love for it to come now, but it's 12 years old, and now I'm like, I don't want it to come because it would look dated, just like it would look like a 12-year-old
get an OTT release.
I'm really sorry, I have to cut it because we're really running out of time, guys. So really sorry for that. Okay.
Thank you so much for the
although we have. Thank you so much. Although we have one more question, and if you can answer that, in a short way, this is Lata Rajshekar. Are you there, Lata? Yes, I'm really sorry. We're really out of time, so let's wrap it up. Yeah, go ahead, Lata.
I still have time to say that, BR sir, I'm a big fan of you. I follow you on Twitter, Facebook, and I recently did, thanks to this pandemic, I did a course with FTI on role of film criticism. I was raving only about you that she even got fed up, the tutor, because I was a big fan.
Thank you.
I gathered from the course that the film critics have a responsibility. Like if there is a bad work of a director or that you expect more and it turns out to be bad, you cannot thrash it on the face. Like instead you have a responsibility to put it and see through the filmmaker's mind and find out what went wrong, maybe suggest that. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that because see, for me, what is important is that continuity, right? Now, let me take somebody like we just talked about, like people who've done work for a long time, right? Like let's take Maniratnam. It's like he's been making movies for 35 years, whatever years, right? Now he has established a pattern of work, right? Now, if he makes a movie that does not work for me, which I consider is bad, then I would try to understand why it's bad. Because, okay, this person does, so what has he tried? And that I would do with every movie. Like my point is always to find a movie that I'm answering this question in the form of a director because you asked me in the form of a director. But I'm saying with any movie, the idea is that unless it is completely amateurish at every level, you don't want to trash any movie. You don't want to trash any movie because it's like it's a lot of hard work that's gone in. So I'm more interested in knowing what did not work or why it did not work than to say this is not working. Like this is not working is the obvious thing. What is the reason it's not working? It's because this character until scene 3 she was behaving this way, but suddenly from scene 5 she's like doing something else. So it's like that's not clicking. So why is that happening? So that kind of explanation to me is more useful in a review than to just say it's bad, because bad everybody can say. But I think it's your responsibility to kind of to kind of contextualize the goodness or badness of the movie within what that movie itself is trying to do. I'm a little relieved you asked me this question because when I heard the words, does the film critic have the responsibility? I thought we were going to say something like, does the film critic have the responsibility to foster good cinema or something like that? And I was like, oh my God, please don't give me the responsibility. So,
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, Lata. Thank you so much. So, yes, this is the end of it. Although I had one question which I won't ask now because
no, ask please. Let's while we're online,
okay. Then I'm just quickly gonna put the question out. So, how we say there are certain films which are like the greatest films, forever the greatest films.
Are you going to ask me for a list? Then let's
No, not the list, not the list.
Okay.
And, because of movie, now you have world cinema right at your drawing room. And I recently came across this film. I mean, you must have heard this director, Amit Datta. Wittgenstein played chess with Marshall Dukas. I tried watching that film. I could not. because I did not understand what the film was. And then I read up a bit about the film. I read up a bit about the director, and I came to know that he's a big deal. And then, there are very good words around him. But as a viewer, when I was watching that film, I lasted for 11 minutes. My husband lasted for 15 minutes. But in contrast to that, I clearly remember when I watched Happy New Year, although it's a commercial film, I loved that film because I enjoyed it, because I smiled, I laughed, and I was having a good time. When I came out of the movie hall, I was feeling good, and everything. So, what is this whole idea of great film and this great director? When as a viewer, I don't understand anything about that film.
That's a really good question, but I don't understand why you have to separate the great films from the commercial films. The commercial film can also be a great film.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So with regard to certain filmmakers, it's like Satyajit Ray said something fantastic once. He said he was talking about Godard, Jean-Luc Godard, and he said something like I don't remember the exact words, but he said something along these lines. He said, like, a lot of people say that they don't like Godard, but Godard himself doesn't want you to like his movies, because like is too simplistic a response to a movie of certain movies, of certain movie makers, because they're not aiming to just please you, right? In Happy New Year, Farhan's aim is to make you have a good time and make you like the movie and come out enjoy it. Amit Datta's aim is not to make you like the movie. It's like when you watch. So what Ray is saying is that when you see a work by Picasso, you don't like the work. It's not like the work makes you happy or the work makes you, because these are complicated. The woman has 3 breasts, and like something is blue, and the eye is not where the eye should be, and but these are intellectual engagements that one makes with the movie. It's like reading, like in literature, you have a lot of so-called literary fiction versus commercial fiction. A lot of literary fiction is like you. I have given the good old college try to Ulysses by James Joyce, because everybody says, oh wow, this is one of the greatest masterpieces of literature and all that. Every time I reach about 50 pages, and then I give up, because I'm like, life's too short. It's like I mean, like, and I told you earlier that I'm this OCD completist. I have to complete everything that I said. There is something about this that doesn't. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. But I'm able to actually enjoy, because intellectually I'm able to engage with Amit Datta. So what I'm trying to tell you is that my ability to engage with difficult films is much greater than my ability to engage with difficult literature. So I think everybody has something that they are better at, or their senses are more attuned to. I wouldn't say better at. Better at is probably the wrong thing. That their senses are more attuned to than something else. So if you don't like Amit Datta, you don't like Amit Datta. You don't have to like Orson Welles and Citizen Kane. You don't have to like Krzysztof Kieslowski. You don't have to like anybody. You don't have to like Tarkovsky. You have to basically just figure out this is who you are. But if you're becoming a film critic, it's important to know what these people stand for, so that your dislike can be expressed in proper terms of what is not working for you, as opposed to saying I fell asleep. Then I'm not going to take you seriously.
Right.
But as long as you say that Citizen Kane is a bad film and a very overrated film because then I will take you seriously.
Yeah.
Even though I love Citizen Kane, I will still read you because I want to know what you're thinking, and I will take you seriously because you are articulating your stuff. But if you say, my God, this movie's in black and white and it's boring and I fell asleep in 10 minutes, then I'm like that makes no. I mean, it doesn't change my life in any way. That's basically it. And it always happens because in my classes, I make it a point to show black and white films, because today's kids, They don't like black and white. They have a problem watching black and white. I'm like, what is this? What is this aversion to black and white? I mean, like, how can that actually be a thing that you don't like watching black and white? It's color. It's two colors. There are so many gray shades there. I'm like, but they just have this mental block towards watching black and white films. And I find that like surprising and interesting, very interesting. So, yeah.
I mean, of course, you're right. I mean, it doesn't work, but of course I need to have a reason. But that's what I was trying to say, that I was trying to understand that why it was not why it wasn't working for me. So that's what I cannot give you a reason. It's only that, like, I can tell you that why Bergman works for me, why Wild Strawberries work for me, or Ritik Ghatak works for me, and Satyajit Ray works for me. But yeah. So okay, so I think we have come to the end of the session.
But to just interrupt you, see, you're still when you're talking about Ghatak or Rai or Ray or Bergman, they're still working within a traditional narrative framework.
Yeah.
Subarna Rekha is still telling a story.
Yeah.
Meghatakatara is still a story. There's still a story. There may be poetic touches and flourishes and all those kinds of things happening. But with the same Bergman, if you see Persona, if you see some of his more subversive work, there is that same level of intellectual engagement that you need to have with, because you'll be like, the first time you watch it, you'll be like, dude, what's happening? It's like what am I even watching? So, right. and it's up to you to decide whether it's working for you, whether you want to continue and try to find out what this is all about.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say life's too short and move on to something that you really love. So,
yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So I think we have come to the end of the session. So can I ask all the audience members, whoever is still there, to kindly switch on your camera? If you can, all of you, please, including, yes, thank you.
Are we taking a group photo or something?
We would like to. I mean, we are all your fans. So
no, but what is this for? It's like, what am I just seeing? Suddenly everybody's going to come. What is this?
No, this is just
like, are they all going to like present me a cake or something?
Not really, but we would like to take a screenshot. So just for us to know that, to preserve this memory, we can say.
Lovely. I love screenshots.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Like, yeah.
So Sridhar, if you can, 1, 2, 3. Okay, done. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for taking out time. And it was a very illuminating and enlightening discussion we had. I mean, we could have gone forever. There are so many things in our mind.
Right. But I hope more than illuminating and enlightening, I hope it was fun, because it's like I'd hate to be an illuminator and an enlightener. And
but
like,
yeah,
so it's like, yeah, but if it was a very boring session, I didn't want that.
No, but you are. It was great to know about the whole film criticism and about films and cinema, because we are a bunch of theatre artists, and there are so many relatable things that what you said, which happens in theatre as well, like how you were speaking about black and white films. In theatre also, we are experiment on costumes and sets, on having black and white, a stage, black and white projects. So there are a lot of things that are common. So it was great to see that.
Yeah, and I think like as much as possible, what you do as a film critic is like one of the earlier questions I answered was somebody, I think the very first question came under pressure to review the big movies, right? Because people want to know the reviews, would read the reviews at once. Right. But one of the happier things of being a film critic is to write about the smaller films, the ones that other people aren't typically going to watch. But then they read you and then they say, okay, let me check out this person. And then somebody says, wow, thank you so much. Thanks to you, I discovered this filmmaker, and that's really, really that really hits the sweet spot. I mean, that's really what you work for.
Thank you, sir. So thank you
so
all
much.
of you. Thank you so much for coming today, for taking out time today, and also to the dearest audiences. Thank you so much. So Let's Talk Art will be back again in November with another eminent guest. And till then, be safe, have a lovely weekend, and bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Stay safe. Thank you so much. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Let's
Thank
talk
you
art.
so much
Thank you.
to
Bye.
you, Salman.
Bye.
Also.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.